We are talking about all types of factoring, and in this case, we want to use special product patterns to factor polynomials. So in this case, we have polynomials with 4 terms. We want to factor by grouping. So the first step is look for any common factors, and then the next step is count the terms in the polynomial. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. When we have 4 terms, we want to think factor by grouping. So the way that we do that, first of all, first thing, look for any common factors. We have 2, we have 10, we have 4, and we have 20. Those are all even, so I can divide all of these by 2. So we'll put 2 out front in the parentheses. 2 divided by 2 is x cubed. 10 divided by 2 is positive 5x squared. Negative 4x divided by 2 is negative 2x. And negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10. So we made our life a little bit easier because we were able to make our coefficients a little bit smaller when we're working with the factoring. So now we want to factor by grouping. So what we're going to do is we're going to group the first two. We're going to group the first 2 terms together, and we're going to group the last 2 terms together. And we want to see if we can make something that would be common between them. So do these have anything in common, the x cubed and the 5x squared? Yeah, they all have an x squared in it. So we still bring the 2 down. The 2 has to be out front. And from this first group, we're going to factor out an x squared. So what does that leave us? Here we're left with 1x. And if we take x squared out of this one, we'll be left with a 5. So we've separated this a little bit, and we just look at these first 2 terms and see if we can factor anything out. And we were able to. The next thing we look at the last 2 terms, and this binomial here will help us figure out what we have to factor out, because we want to make this binomial look like a binomial from here. And so our lead coefficient, we want to be 1 and then x. So our lead term, we want it to be 1x. So how do we make negative 2x become 1x? And in that case, we're going to have to divide by negative 2. So if we take a negative 2 out, if we take the negative 2 out, that just leaves us with x. And then if we take negative 10 divided by negative 2, that becomes positive 5. So now, factor by grouping, we have created 2 groups that are exactly the same. We have an x plus 5 and an x plus 5. Those are the same. And so we can pull these out because now they're common. We have the first term right here. We have the first term right here, which is x squared times the quantity x plus 5. And we have our second term, which is negative 2 times the quantity x plus 5. But we do have a common factor between the 2 terms, and that's x plus 5. So we're going to pull that out front. And so what we get is we still have to bring the 2 down because that's just going to stay out front. Now we're going to pull an x plus 5 out of both terms. And what's left? If we take an x plus 5 out of this, what's left is an x squared. And if we take an x plus 5 out of the second term, what's left is just the minus 2. And so that is the factored form by factored by grouping. And if we can see, we have our x plus 5 and our x plus 5. That just got factored out front, and then we're just left with what what we had left in that group.